Good morning and welcome to your final supervisor meeting for your community project. If you're working in a group, please sit together. Today, for your final meeting, we're going to do a couple of things. You're going to check in with your supervisor. We're going to go over the calendar for the rest of the project. You will have get some information on final presentations, and then you will also have some work time today. So, first of all, a little calendar update. Today is meeting number 4, and all this week, April 24th, 25th, and then the 28th, so 3 days this week, you are going to have some work time. This will be your final work time on your community project. So today you'll have your meeting with your supervisor, and then you'll have 2 other sessions this week to work. And you're getting ready for May 5th, so next Monday, when you'll be doing your final presentation. So that's when you are going to talk through all you've been doing this year for your community project. These presentations will also be up the following Friday, May 12th, for conferences. So we'll have those trifold boards that you're making, we'll have those available for everybody to see. So a couple different ways that you'll be presenting your projects. So it's time to reflect and prepare your presentation. Hopefully you completed the other 3 steps, investigating, planning, and then taking action. So now you're thinking back on what you've learned. So your final presentations will be May 5th. Think of those presentations as like a 5-minute TED Talk. You're going to talk through the 4 steps of your project, those 4 steps of investigating, planning, taking action, and reflecting. And that will be during Crew on May 5th to a classroom of 7th, 8th, and then some 9th grade students. So we want to make sure that you have all these things on a trifold board, as you've seen, so you can show it off. You can also use additional digital resources if you want to. You are going to be assessed on completing the 4 parts of the community project. And so teachers and then also students are going to give you some feedback on how you've done. So today you'll get some access to those rubrics. As you can see, you can find those on the Canvas page. You can also scan this QR code for those 4 criteria, which are our design criteria: investigating, planning, taking action, and reflecting. And you will turn in your process journal, your project plans, and any photos that you took of your action or your process. You will work today in the supervisor meeting, but then also tomorrow, Tuesday, and Friday, and anything else then you need to complete by the 5th. You need to make sure you complete outside of school because you won't have any time that morning of the presentations to do any type of prep. So remember that your final presentation should be on a trifold board. Those can be found in the media center. We have big ones like this, and we also have smaller ones if you're working individually or if you don't have a lot of information to put on there. So these are some examples that we've been showing you, but hopefully now it hits home on what you are going to be creating. And your supervisor might have some examples. I also have more examples. Mrs. Poncelet does down in the IB office if you want to see some more. But what you want to think about is visualizing how can you show all 4 parts of your project, not just the taking action, but also how did you get started, what did you do along the way, and then how did you reflect on it. As you're giving your presentation, teachers and then students are also going to be looking at those 4 parts and assessing you. So you want to take some time to look at the presentation rubrics. So for example, criterion A is investigating. Our expectation, thinking about the 4 or 5, is that you create a project goal that's easy to understand, connects to your passions or interests, and challenges you to do something new. So you want to make sure in the presentation and the way you speak or somewhere on your trifold board that you represent that you recognize and state things that you already knew or learned in or outside of school, and show that you can apply research skills to find a significant amount of relevant data, information, and or contacts related to your project. So this week, as you are putting things on your board, make sure that you look at these presentation rubrics and especially at that yellow part here under 5-6 to show exactly what we are going to be looking for as we are scoring you. Now, for that final presentation, a couple more thoughts on what you should be putting on your board. Think of your board as like 4 parts, and then that middle part might be including images, reflections, part of your process journal, your project plans that address these 4 parts. You want to make sure that you're showing how you went about investigating. So, say what your original project goal was, even if it changed in a way that's easy to understand. Remember, your audience is 7th and 8th graders, and show how it connects to your passions and interests and challenges you to do something new. Recognize and state things you already knew or learned outside of school, and then tell how you applied research skills. For that planning part, make sure that you are sharing the parts of your project plan that you filled out. You could, print that out and put that on there if you want to, and show a detailed plan that explains what did you plan to do, and show that you were able to reflect upon your process and manage your time. That's what that section is really about. You want to spend some time talking about how you took action. How did you complete your project plan? Show how this project required you to analyze and evaluate ideas, issues, generate new ideas, or consider new perspectives. Clearly explain how this project required you to collaborate with others and or communicate with others in a meaningful way. And that includes any communication you had to do, like to secure a spot. If you had to talk to me, Mrs. Poncelet, as you were getting ready for action night, or all those different things that go into action that you might not have thought about before. And now, reflection. This is probably something that you'll have to do first and then add, but make a clear, detailed judgment about how successful you were in completing your project goal. Share deep thinking about what you've learned about yourself, your community, and service through this project, even if you didn't complete any action, or even if the action looked very different than you expected it. Share deep thinking about the skills, especially those ATL skills like self management, communication, social skills, and research skills that you've developed by completing this project. So, those really are those 4 parts of the rubric that we'll be scoring you on. Now, you want to make sure all of these things are in a shared Google folder. So double check. You were instructed to create one. And so double check to make sure that that's there and that the project folder is shared with your supervisors, because the teachers and staff members who are observing you as you are giving the presentation, we're going to look in that folder when we talk afterwards and give you a final score. So your folder should include your process journal, project plans 1 through 4. You probably have to complete 4 today, and then any other project documents. And there's information here on how you create that shared folder. And then remember too that one of the great resources you have is the Canvas page. Probably don't need it, but here is a QR code to that Canvas page. And remember all of the things with green checks, you have to have those in your project folder. So today you probably need to do the reflection, project plan number 4. Hopefully you've completed project plan number 3, but if you haven't yet, then make sure you go back and do that. And then this gives you some information on how to do the final presentation, going over again what I just talked about here. So make sure you're accessing that Canvas page to see what you need to do. So here's the list. This is what will stay up on the board as you work with your supervisor. Make sure that you've completed your service action. If you haven't, then that's your first step. What needs to happen? How are you going to make some action happen so that you can reflect and then create your presentation? Check project plan number 3 to make sure that's all wrapped up. If you have already completed your action, then it's time to reflect with project plan number 4. Think about, how did it go? Did you document your action with photos? And if not, then what could you do to represent that visually? And the second thing to think about is, how will you get your presentation prepared by May 5th? So you have today in crew, Monday, you have Tuesday, tomorrow in crew, and then you have Friday, April 28th in crew. And then on May 5th, right away, you'll be giving your presentation. So think about who is going to do what. What will you include? Do you have a board? Where are you going to store it? Do you have markers? Work with your supervisor on getting all the things that you need to make sure that you have that presentation ready to go. So the supervisors, you'll go around and check in all of these things with your groups. Groups, as you're waiting for your supervisors, you can use this to-do list to make sure that you are staying focused on what you need to get done today and the next few days, because it will go fast. I am very much looking forward to seeing your final presentations. Talk to your supervisors when you have questions. Thanks.